The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Bermuda's Feel Good Early Morning Show. Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliano's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert, and we are ready to bring you some feel good vibes this morning. Our feel good topic of the day is a discussion on mental health, relationships, and we're going to touch on hotel quarantine. Our feel good vibe of the day is I Think You're in the Wrong Race, Cousin by Mr. Photogenic. But before we get into all of that, let's see who is tuned in with us, Jackie, as we get started with our day. So it looks like we have Kathy Rogers in here with us once again, as well as Sean Smith. Good morning to the both of you. And if you're just tuning in, let us know in the comments where you are watching us from. Give us a good morning greeting. Jackie and I are excited to be here with you this morning once again. Jack. So you are very passionate about today's topic. If people have been following Jackie on social media over this week, listen, you're going to get possibly an earful this morning in what I think is a pretty important topic. Just in general, over the last year, it's been very important, but also just in more recent times, it's been something that a lot of folks have been talking about. But for our warm-up, we want to talk about this post that we saw on Instagram. I can't bring it up because it looks like the link that I originally had is gone, but we can give you the gist of it. There was a post on an Instagram page called Spiritual Word, and it was a text message conversation between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. They appear to be in a relationship. And he basically said to the girlfriend, because she got a new job, he was going to take some time off because his mental health was, being disturbed. He felt a little bit uneasy, and he was letting her know that, now that she has the job, she can provide for the two of them, and he would take the time off to kind of recollect himself. I sent it to Jackie. I didn't take a screenshot so that I could share it with you all this morning, but we wanted to get your thoughts for our warm-up. What are your thoughts on ending a relationship because your partner does not care for your mental health? The way that the conversation ended, the girl basically told the guy, you can't do that. You're not a man if you do that. You have to provide for me. She basically was making him feel bad for wanting to take some time off for his mental health. So we want to know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about, ending a relationship if your partner doesn't, support your mental health needs? Jackie, I'm not going to say I know how you feel about it, but I definitely want to hear your response.
At first, when you first started talking about the post, I'm like, what post is she talking about? Why she didn't send it to me? But I do remember because she had gotten her job. He had helped her go through school, all that good stuff. And then he was literally paying for everything. She had now had a salary that could take care of both of them. And he wasn't asking for a lot of time off. He was asking for 1 month. He quit his job for 1 month to be able to go to therapy to sort his mental health out because he is not happy in the position that he was in or the job that he was in, but he stuck through it to make sure that she was able to be provided for. And now that she's able to be provided for, he was going to take some time for himself, and she just wasn't having it. And honestly, it was just a joke. He just wanted to see, because he was looking to move forward in the relationship, but wanted to see how she would take it, if she actually cared about him or was more about the financial stability than the actual love for the relationship. I applaud him for ending it because that's absolutely ridiculous to me. If I have been taking care of you for the past, say, 6 months to a year, and then I need a mental break, and you can't back me up. That's not partnership. That's not a team like that. That's not a good team. And he needs to get out, because how am I supposed to continue to provide for you if my mental health is at stake? A lot of people take it as a grain of salt, and a lot of people use saying, you know, go to therapy, you need to go to therapy, as like a jab, and it needs to be put in a more positive light. Like, you need to start saying that with love. I'm trying. I'm so passionate that I'm trying not to curse. Yes, we're gonna put a little bit more emphasis and shine a little bit more of a positive light on what therapy can do for you. I don't actually go to therapy. I am looking to go, but we're gonna stop saying it as a way that it's hurtful. Because some people actually do need to go. It is a safe space. We can't always go to our partners, because, as you see, she didn't care. So you can't go and confide in her, and that she actually looks like she'll be pushing off some toxic masculinity, because she's just like, you're the man, I'm the woman, you provide and protect, you do this and that and the other, and I just sit back and eat grapes in my lounge bed.
Not great. Audience, if you're just joining us, we do want you to join the conversation, as we're talking about, for our Feel Good warm-up, mental health and relationships. So I shared a post. Jackie also shared a little bit more about the post, and I think what's interesting, so let us know in the comments your thoughts on ending a relationship if your partner doesn't care for your mental health, if they're not willing to support anything that you need to do in order to make sure you're mentally sound and stable. What was interesting was I felt at the beginning he was low-key serious. Like, I felt like he was really serious, like he was really planning to do that. And then he switched it but he basically said, get your stuff out of my house, or out of the apartment, whatever they lived in, because this relationship's over. And I felt like that probably would have been something that I would have done. Like, I would have pretended towards the end that it wasn't actually something that I was planning to do, just to see, like, to test the person. But I also feel like that was kind of, just playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, that was kind of like a jarring way to tell someone that you're going to take time off, because I don't know, obviously we don't know the nature of their relationship, but at what point do people talk about mental health in the relationship? Because if you're waiting this entire time to tell me that you're feeling stressed, that you're feeling like your job isn't fulfilling you, and that you're going to need some support, it will kind of shock a person that's been kind of looking to you as the provider to kind of say, okay, I'm just going to take the time off, and that's it. Like, I feel like they probably should have had some conversation in the beginning. Like, we don't know the nature of their relationship, but I definitely feel like he did set her up. He did test her. He definitely did. I definitely felt like he probably could have just, leaned into the conversation a bit, because she was like, it's a no for me. I feel
like reading the conversation, and I'm hoping, I don't know if I hope it's real or fake, but because people put on, it's all, as they say, cap. There was no pre-contact, like, hey, so I know we had this conversation about the possibility, but today was a rough day and I'm over it and I am absolutely quitting, and we're gonna have to figure this out. There was no conversation prior to this. So it's like, how secure in your relationship are you that you had this serious of a conversation over text? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know some people are more comfortable either journaling and writing letters and then handing it off, or via text versus face to face. We don't know what emotional state they're really, he is, or the type of confidence that he has. But to not be able to have that conversation face to face and wait till she gets home, or you guys should have had the conversation prior to, before it got this bad. I think she actually alluded to that as well. But
so before you go on, Jack, I do want to bring in this comment from Wicked Llama. He or she, I don't know the gender, says that he prevented future pain. She isn't the one. And I did want to play devil's advocate in that space, just because we didn't have the full context of what happened prior. Maybe they are a texting couple, because some couples don't necessarily talk that much face to face, which I think is odd. But some couples do, have, some people are more comfortable texting versus talking face to face, and maybe that's something that kind of came into. But I think, to your point, that's a heavy conversation to have just through text message. You can't feel the other person's energy. You can't really read their body language, so you don't know if they're being serious or if they're like, just trying to fill you out. So I feel like there were some pieces that were missing. And we do have another comment here from Sean Smith. Jack, ooh, this is a big one.
This may seem cool, but if I'm hearing you right, they were boyfriend and girlfriend, not husband and wife, right? Yes. He took a major risk to fund his girlfriend's schooling because there was no guarantee that she would stay with him. I would have never funded my girlfriend's life.
I agree. I feel like that's also something to kind of bring into the conversation. Like, if you're not committed,
I mean, how long were they in the relationship for? Because I mean, some people are in relationships for 10 plus years and they're still boyfriend and girlfriend, but they have that marriage lifestyle.
Exactly. Agreed. So I can't say like for me, it was definitely one of those, that's just not a conversation I want to have with my significant other through a text message. Like I definitely agree. I'm not going to like walk away from my relationship if the other person needs to take time to secure their mental health. I probably would have been mad that you text me this and we're not talking about this face to face.
He should have done it through his therapist, because I think he actually stated that he had already started the process to get help. So his therapist should have said, hey, so if this is what you want to do, let's have your girlfriend come in and sit down and we can do it in a safe space.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a quick commercial break before we get into our feel-good topic of the day, which is to discuss mental health, hotel quarantine, and how mental health does affect us individually and our relationships. So if you are just joining us, we'll be right back.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
Welcome back to Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert. And if you are just joining us, do make sure you give us some reactions. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. And to all of our peeps over there on Twitter, make sure you run up those hearts, because we are going to get into our feel-good topic of the day, which we're going to focus on mental health and quarantine, hotel quarantine, as we like to affectionately call it. I don't even know if it's really affectionate at this point, but it's what we call it. So for the audience that doesn't know, Jackie, you did post an open letter from one of your family members who was in quarantine at the time. She is no longer in quarantine. And so my intention was to bring it up on the screen so that you could read it. I don't know if you have it near you to read, because I think you posted it on Twitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pull it up on Twitter real quick. But you can give the audience a gist of what that post included while I bring it up.
So she said I could use her name because obviously it's everywhere. So Jasmine Quinn is my cousin. She flew in July 10th and she started her quarantine process. It was a case where people, obviously you're able to sit outside, X, Y, and Z, but she was having a day where it was a struggle. So she called the security and was just like, hi, can you call the mental health hotline for me? Give me the number or whatever, because she's having a moment. And here we go.
Yes. So you might not be able to see the whole message, but you can continue, Jack.
So they call, they talk to her. They get some information. She actually calls me that same day and she's bawling her eyes out. And I'm like, what can I do to help? And she's just like, I want to go home. Like, this isn't working for me. I'm here alone. There's nobody here. I don't have half my stuff. Like, I just want to finish quarantine at home. So I'm like, how do we call people? Like, who do we call? So she's like, well, I've tried to call and I'm waiting for them to call me back. So the security calls her back, gives her some numbers to call. She calls and they're just like, they take her information, and the last thing they say before they let her go, obviously you can see that they're telling her to drink some tea, take a hot shower. She hasn't slept well in days. And we all know how important sleep is. If you don't have sleep, your attitude and your patience is basically non-existent. It definitely affects all your emotions. So they told her that they will get back to her within 24 hours. So she calls me back. I'm like, 24 hours? You're having a mental breakdown and you're telling me that they're going to call you back in 24 hours? That's ridiculous. That's ludicrous. That's disgusting. So anyway, they don't show up until they don't call her back until the next day. And they don't show up to, what's the word?
They don't show up to
assess her. Assess her.
Okay,
Sorry.
I
couldn't get it out until later the next day. Anyway, she posted this on Instagram. I saw it, I screenshotted it, I posted it again on all my social media platforms. Some people that are on Twitter and have more followers, they also retweeted it. They tweeted it and quoted and put the premier's in there so that his mention in there so that he can reply and get it sorted out. But my issue with all of this is it shouldn't have to get to the point that somebody is crying out. I've spoken to other people that are in hotel quarantine and they're losing all motivation. Some people are only getting 1 hour a day to go out and walk, and then they're put back in their room. And I'm just like, are you in jail? Like, this is solitary confinement. This can totally change the way somebody operates socially. I have one friend that she was just like, I don't feel like leaving. I'm not going. No, I'm not hungry. Do you want to go for a walk? No, I'm fine. And she's not fine. She's just like, the only way that she can cope without completely losing it is just existing. She's just sitting in her bed, clicking through channels and napping. That's
not healthy. So the first question that we wanted to ask the audience, given Jacky's commentary on her family members' experience in hotel quarantine, if you know someone that's been in hotel quarantine or if you yourself have been in hotel quarantine, do you think the Bermuda government has shown enough care to the mental health of those currently in quarantine, whether you're using Jasmine's experience that Jacky just shared with you, your own personal experience, or someone else that you known their personal experience? Like, do you feel that the government is showing enough care? And I think it's one thing to make the care available. It's another thing to actually follow through. Now, Jack, do you want to respond first or do you want me to respond first? I know you just did a mouthful.
I don't mind responding all day on this topic. It is one thing to have it available, and there's one thing for us to actually use it. There are a lot of people out there because behind mental health, there's a horrible stigma that it's, weak, or if you come in there and you confess that this is happening, that they're going to put you out Maui versus just take you home where you should be home with your shower, your products, your kitchen, your closet, so you can go and change and do whatever you want, versus being in a hotel where you have whatever's in your suitcase. And you have to be there for the access, wait for somebody else to bring you food because of whatever situation, because I know not everywhere has a kitchenette, so you have to wait for food to be delivered, and you're only allowed 1 hour out. But so people aren't going to actually use it, versus I think that it should be mandatory for them to call and check in and constantly assess you to make sure that you have a stable mind, because her calling me isn't the same as her calling a professional.
Exactly. And I actually want to bring this comment in from Michael Anthony Musson to kind of continue. He says, mental health has been a swept under the rug topic in Bermuda for years. I totally agree. And we actually have another comment here from Sheldon Jones, Jack.
Oftentimes, mental health support is severely under-resourced. The workers are very aware of the deficiencies and frequently become the target of the publics. Yeah.
Publics are right. And then we have this next comment here from Carmen Edward Simmons. She says, the government or general regard by the community, in my opinion, does not show the care needed for mental health issues. It is seen as a shame that it is hidden or weakness. Agree. So I actually want to come back to all of those comments. I think first with Michael Anthony Musson's comment around it being a swept under the rug topic for years. Can you elaborate on that, Michael? Because I have my own opinion on that, obviously, but I want to know, like, from your perspective as a man, what have you seen as far as mental health being swept under the rug? Because I definitely feel like women tend to be more open to the idea of therapy, whereas some men are.
I mean, we could give you an example right now. You have the scientist that rides around on his bike that is clearly in need of some help and assistance, and what do? We make a national joke.
Like, we make him a meme.
We make everything too lighthearted because we're too polite and we're too passive, versus we need to be head on and hold everybody accountable, because it's not just the government, it's all of us, because we walk down the street and we know that somebody has a mental illness and we crack jokes on it versus trying to find ways to make sure that they are taken care of.
Right. And do we think that we're aware of like mental health from a overall perspective, or are we just like are we talking about mental health at this very high abstract level? And so because we don't know the different nuances of mental health, we play it down as a community. And like, do we also as a community, because I think this is a Black community like all over the world, we use humor to kind of deflect from pain. And I think that mental health can be seen as a pain, because if you kind of look at it as a weakness, or you look at it as a deficit, or something that you want to hide, you're going to try to deflect. You're going to try to like, bring some other type of, you're going to try to bring joy into the situation.
Absolutely. It's deep rooted as far back as you can go. I mean, I use comic relief all the time. It could be a serious thing. I could be at a funeral and I look up and I'm cracking a joke because I feel uncomfortable, and versus sitting there in my feelings and crying, because now it's bringing tears bring more attention than the actual joke that you're cracking. People will laugh and then they go about their business. They've forgotten that you're struggling with something. So cracking that joke is better than somebody sitting there over you constantly making sure you're okay, because you don't actually know if them checking in on you is genuine or not.
Right. And so I actually want to say good morning to Rochelle Sumner. So hello, good morning, welcome. I want to bring in this comment back from, or new comment, from Karen Edwards Simmons. She says, if you don't have the resources, money to get mental health care needed, as costs are significant, and going to Maui for help is stigmatized. I agree. I definitely think that, not having the resources does kind of play a part into it. The collective, though, like, what can the collective do? Because that's actually our next question. So what changes do you think the Bermuda government, and we'll just say / community, us, should make as it relates to the mental health support to those in mandatory quarantine, as well as just those that may be suffering from mental health in general? Jack, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, because I was actually having this conversation on Twitter. So I have a few friends that I have just finished either their master's or even their bachelor's in mental health. Obviously there's different tiers to it. So it was brought to my attention that they have reached out, especially during this time, to volunteer their time. They're trying to do case studies. They're trying to do different things to find ways to help support our community. And they are they're getting the response of, okay, thanks, that sounds great. And then that's it, versus allowing them to come in and do something. So there are people out there that are willing to be a part of the resource side of it, but they're being stopped. There are people that you go to get the assistance, to give assistance, and they're just being stopped, I guess you can say. Or not used.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because I wonder, because I mean,
because they're younger, they're from a younger generation. So obviously the older stuff that people are using, the more senior or seasoned employees that are out there, their stuff obviously isn't working. We need to update the system. So these people that are coming in with these new ideas, new education, they're obviously fresher, they have more energy. So use them, utilize them. Why are we telling them no, or just not giving them an answer and they're just cast to the side? Like, this is a situation, but obviously if it's not tourism and if it's not international business, it doesn't seem to be important to the government.
It's definitely not highlighted. It's definitely not highlighted. And I want to say good morning to you, Mark Arthur C. Phillips. I can't read this morning. It's okay. I got my glasses on. I wear my glasses on this shit because, glur and all that. I don't like that. I don't like the way that looks.
You just see the rings.
You see the rings. It's like, it's too much. It's more distracting to me than I think to the audience, to be quite honest. I think it distracts me way too much. So we have a question from Rosalind Famous that I want to ask the audience as well as Jack and I, and then I'm going to bring in some comments after that. So do make sure, if you're just joining us, that you hop into the comment section. Let us know your thoughts on mental health, whether it's mental health and in relationships, whether that's the relationship with yourself, partners, your family, and if you have any thoughts on the hotel quarantine and how it's affecting people's mental health, let us know in the comments as you are joining in. Rosalind Famous asks, does insurance in Bermuda cover mental health care?
I believe that. Oh, go ahead.
because I was going to say for my particular policy, and I don't know all the specific group ID numbers and all that good jazz. I know it is covered. So we do have EAP. So we do have the employee assistance program. And so we do have access to, you know, those tools and those resources. However, I'm a full-time. Yeah, no. Well, I haven't. The first time I did it, it was the copy. I'm going to do it again. So I have done therapy. The first experience for me wasn't that great. And that was more or less because I knew I needed to do it, but I kind of still had like some guards up, and it was telehealth. So it was remote. And I just feel like I missed that first, even if it was just one interaction with my therapist in person, just so I could kind of just like, you know, feel her energy. She could feel my energy and really figure out. And I was doing it at home. And my home experience, it was just like, there were so many factors into why I just wanted to be in person with her for the first session, and then, you know, maybe take it offline. So the second time that I'm going to do it, I am going to ask if I can do at least one, maybe just a few sessions in person, just to get that that comfort level with the person. Because it is like going on a blind date with someone, but then it's online. I mean, yes, I could see her, so there was still that, but it just felt different. It felt really different.
It was like an interview.
It felt more like an interview for sure. So we have this comment from Mark Arthur Phillips, Jack.
I believe the same thing. Obama's house in Bermuda is that it's such a deep-rooted, okay, I get it, deep-rooted issue that then it's going to take time.
Wait, what is he trying to say? I believe the same thing. Obama is a house in Bermuda.
I think it's the same thing that when Obama was in-house, in
the White House. Okay, in the White House. Apologies. You know, I know that the typos be getting us sometimes. Like, you be typing really fast, and it don't work. I get it. I was like, wait, huh? There's a house in Bermuda called Obama? I was really confused for a second.
No, it's gonna. I understand. It took him like both his terms to fulfill, and now look at it.
And they're trying to repeal
Shambles
Obamacare
all over again.
Yeah, and it's like there's mixed emotions around Obamacare too, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. We have another comment from Karen Edwards Simmons, and she does apologize. And Jackie, she did say she spelled your name wrong, but she is.
It's fine.
You're here to read it for us?
Yeah. Hearing you say that just now, Jackie, brings to my mind, make a path of your own. Have these young professionals put themselves out there through their networks to share.
Yeah, that's
so a lot of them I had side message because I wanted to get the help for my cousin. And it's not even just for my cousin, it's for a lot of people that are struggling. But a lot of people struggle in silence. So I'm sitting there interrogating my friends that are in quarantine, like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling today? But I wanted to get her some assistance because she couldn't, every time she was calling somebody, it was a different situation. So I wanted to find out through some of my professionals, like, is this protocol to tell somebody to take a shower and have a cup of tea and take some melatonin and you'll be fine when they're struggling mentally because they're alone and they just want to go home. And a lot of them were disgusted. They were like, who? What was the number? So they started interrogating, like, you know, investigating themselves, like the situation themselves. And they were trying to be quiet because they're trying to get in the system as well. They don't have a secure spot in government or in a job. And it wasn't until I kept giving, of course, we were going back and forth, and they just eventually just like over it. And they started putting stuff out publicly on Twitter about how they feel, what should be done, how the system can be changed and different things, but where they have to start and then where they'll finish and how many years it'll probably take. Oh, they're ready. They're ready. They have gone into these places with plans to help everybody, but they'll get it. They're going to get it done. They're all starting to push forward, especially after that situation.
And I think that's an opportunity for a business idea, because if people are having to, not if, people have to do mandatory hotel quarantine right now, it is something that they have to do. So I definitely feel like there's an opportunity for them to not only share information on how to, you know, deal with the mental health issues that you're dealing with in hotel quarantine, but turn it into something long term. Because we actually have a question from Rosalind Famous that I want to get into coming into the comments, but we're going to take a quick commercial break and then we'll be right back to continue our conversation on mental health, hotel quarantine, and how our mental health not only affects us individually, but how it affects those around us. So make sure you do not go anywhere.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
Welcome back to Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jacky Lambert. If you are just joining us, we are talking about mental health, hotel quarantine, and how the changes and effects and issues that we have in our mental health, our state, how it affects not only us personally, but those around us. And we did have as Jacky was talking just now before we took the break, it reminded me to bring in this question that we had from Resident Famous, because she did ask, is health insurance, or does insurance cover mental health costs? And she also wants to know, what about people who are retired or not employed? Are private therapists covered? And I know that I personally can't speak to that, but I can say that that's kind of what we're asking the question about. What are some of the changes that government can make to, the mental health support for those that are in mandatory quarantine, but those that are retired and those that are unemployed? Because that is a really valid question. Like, for those that don't have the financial means, how can they have their mental health supported? Jack, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that they need to add it to the budget. It's just that simple. Not everybody, especially during these times, everybody's up for losing their job. It's not secure, so you need to make sure that
these times,
even before, yeah, you're absolutely correct.
But a low key trying to use the penny to kind of skirt some of the issues that they're having, that they have been having for years. I'm like, no, it's always been this way. It's just now it's super highlighted, it's super focused, and a lot of us are paying more attention than we had been paying before, which is great, because I definitely feel like we should be intentional on some of these things, because at any minute, not only could your life end, but things that you had held so secure and that kept you or gave you security could be gone in an instant, and then you'll have to pivot and try to figure out what's the next step. So I definitely don't want people to kind of use this mental health focus as a period. This conversation needs to continue even after Jacky and I get off the live. So I definitely want people to kind of take that away as well. Sorry to just butt in there, buddy.
Oh, I said what I said though. It still needs to be put to the budget.
Yeah, but that actually brings me to a question that I had on when the premier was on the Daily Hour. I had asked about children, and I didn't kind of phrase it properly because I was in transit and trying to get your question in there. Children that are of working age, that are in their prime working years, it's difficult, or I don't know if we can insure our parents who become our dependents in their olderhood. So as they retire and their income reduces, you kind of come into your own, and you're making, it's a flip. The roles are reversed, you trade in places, and you now have insurance, but you're dependent currently as it stands. And I have to look into this, not only with my own private insurance, but just in general, why can't I, as someone who is currently gainfully employed, add my parent to my insurance as my dependent? So that
what this sounds like, right? It sounds like we have to have somebody from insurance come on the show.
Absolutely, because I just feel for me, that blew my mind when I found that out. When I first came back, I was like, huh? A dependent is a dependent is a dependent. It shouldn't matter if they're someone that I gave birth to, or someone that is a child versus a parent. I feel like if someone is dependent on you and you have the means to cover them through insurance, why? So we have some comments coming in, so we're gonna get to them. So let's get this first one here from Michael Anthony Musson-Jack.
The culture needs to change around mental health. There has been this major push. There has been this major push on physical health, but how can you be physically healthy if you aren't mentally healthy? Absolutely, because mental health will absolutely motivate you to be physically healthy.
And vice versa. Like there is this, we are one whole being, right? So if one area of your life is doing well, the other area of your life will naturally kind of come so that you can be balanced. So if you're doing really well physically, you would want to also do really well mentally. But if you're really struggling mentally, your physical health, you look great on the outside, but internally you're struggling. And then you have this like
a lot of people don't even realize they're sick because outside they're healthy, but mentally they are so twisted. I was going to curse, but I had to catch myself.
Young people might be watching.
Jeez, Jack. They are so unhinged, stressed, everything else that they don't realize that inside they're rutting. And it's all connected. Like you said, it's all connected.
All connected. So we have this comment from Rosalind Famous. She says, I'm asking more to figure out how affordable mental health is in general. That can help destigmatize it. Honestly, I mean, healthy food, like grocery shopping. There's people complain about groceries all day long. Healthy food, unhealthy food, everything's expensive here. Trying to bring something into the island, it's expensive here. So the financial aspect of it, to me, like that shouldn't matter. What's that child's name? Child. One of the billionaires in America just spent $28 million to go to space. So the money part of it, yes, Bezos. That's who it was. I can't remember which one it was. I can't remember if it was Bezos, Elon, or Richard Branson. But the financial aspect of it doesn't matter from a destigmatization perspective. I think what's really the issue is having the conversation around it and letting people know that it is okay to not be okay. Like it is okay to have an off day. We often tell people, like, if you're having a bad day, oh, smile, or like, what's wrong with you, or fix your face.
Push it down.
Like, or yes, hide it, don't talk about it. Like, so the destigmatization financially, to me, is irrelevant, because if we can find money to help people who are unemployed, if we can find money to have an unemployment benefit, we should absolutely be able to find money to assist people and give them better care than we'll call you back or check back in 24 hours or go have some tea, take a hot shower and eat some melatonin. Like that, to me, the finances are not even a part of that conversation. You just gave me that service and I want to complain, and I cannot complain. So here's a comment from Mike Anthony Musson, Jack.
I think the percentage covered by insurance needs to rise. Make it more affordable will allow more people to seek the help in the end.
They need, absolutely. I agree. I definitely think this is definitely a pin to have someone, lots of folks actually, from the insurance sector to kind of speak to that, because maybe there's some things that Jackie and I don't know under the hood that we as a community need to be educated on, and then that will help us to make more informed, decisions and have better conversations around it and ask for policy change where policy change makes sense, right? Because I feel like if it is a policy thing, if it is a cultural thing, we need to talk about it. We've talked about a lot of the cultural aspects today, but if there's some legal reasons as to why it hasn't changed, we should absolutely have that conversation. So we have a comment here from Sean Smith, Jack.
This is why we have a lot of substance abuse in Bermuda, because this is how we deal with it, our mental health issues. I actually was talking about this yesterday with a friend. They were asking me, why do Bermudians drink so much or smoke so much, or any other substance? And it's because we don't talk about our issues. We pretend that we're okay. So the first thing that we do when we are feeling sad is, I need a drink, or I need a draw, or some people do lines, whatever it is. That's the reality of it. Versus saying, let me sit in my feelings with my therapist and actually fix it now, because in a day or two, when something else happens, obviously it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse because you're not addressing the main issue. So it's like having a crack in your roof and you're like, oh, I don't feel like dealing with it. I'm just going to put some duct tape over it. And then eventually the crack gets bigger, bigger, bigger. And now you have to redo the entire roof versus fixing it right then and there.
I absolutely agree. If you have enjoyed this conversation with Jackie and I on mental health, hotel quarantine, and how our mental health issues can affect our relationships, let us know in the comments. Also, make sure if you're watching on Facebook that you give us our reaction. Jackie and I like the care reaction, so do make sure you run this up. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button if you haven't hit it already. And for all of our peeps over there on Twitter, make sure you run up those hearts. We are going to get into our feel-good vibe of the day with the COVID games. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The Olympic Games are starting tomorrow, apparently. So we wanted to motivate you all with this track and field clip because we know that track and field is definitely one of the sports that we love here on the island. So we hope you enjoy.
Lock, these lot are the fastest on the rock and are coming in hot. Hey, I didn't get any wrong race, cuz. Champion boy from 1966 is on the sticks. Back in the day, he was the top man, top bum. Why you dumb? This is the under 17s, not under 71s. Who told him he could run? I mean, Gene is number 17. He looks pretty lean. He just might do his thing full steam. I know this is real focus, but I'm hoping it's still a rodent. What? Yo, what's the deal? This can't be real. He looks like Uncle Phil with no chill, trying to find Will. Yeah, I know you want to laugh, but your boy's 100-meter dash is pretty fast, even though he's in last. Hey, if you're from West, you've seen the writing on his walls, and he gave it his all, and he didn't even fall. Hey, that's a strong finish, cousin.
It's definitely a strong finish for me.
I'm just happy he didn't fall because he is lean and hard. And I'm like, please don't fall.
He was definitely leaning. We hope today's Feel Good Vibe has you ready to make it a good one today. Thank you for watching this episode of Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert. We trust we will see you tomorrow for another Feel Good conversation. Until the next episode, peace and have a good day, Bermuda.